Yeah.
Should we get started? There at 7 o'clock. Mayor, it's 7 o'clock. Do you want to get started?
Yeah, and you can hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay, you were talking last week, Debbie, of putting in a double screen. Is that not possible?
Yeah, both our screens are showing. Are you not able to see the full council table?
No, the only ones I see is Nina, Storm, and Chris.
Are you in full screen mode?
I have no idea what that is.
You probably need to change your view. If you go to the upper right-hand corner of your screen, there might be a tab that says View. If you click on View, then click on Gallery.
Yeah, I tell you what, I don't want to waste any more time. Anyway, let me call the September 9th, 2024 Harpers Ferry Town Council meeting to order. It is 7:02 or thereabouts. I don't know who is at the table besides Nina, Storm, and Chris.
All are present except for Zach and yourself, who are both remote.
Okay, so let the record reflect that, Nina. We got 2 on remote and 5 live. Nina, could you have everybody stand and would you lead them into pledge?
Yep. Stand.
I pledge the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation,
Under God,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Nina. Okay, the approval of agenda. I have 2 items. Item 7B, I am requesting that that be deferred. It's premature for that item to be coming to the town council, and it should be deferred to the tree commission. Then if the tree commission so desires it to come to the town council, that should be our mode. So I am, on one of my suggestions is to defer any action, don't even address it, remove it from the agenda, and turn that issue over to the tree commission. And that also is the will of the interested neighbor regarding that item. My second is on 7C. I think you all got the note from Patty with that minor typo. So those are 2 changes I have. Does anybody else have any changes?
Yes.
Go ahead, Storm.
Roberta was first.
Okay, let me go ahead, since I didn't see Roberta. Let me go ahead with Storm and then Roberta.
I would like to move the item, I think I have my numbers crossed up, about the motorized library service, to move that up to follow the community announcements. We have a representative from the petitioning organization here.
Okay, which one was that, Storm?
It's the motorized library.
The 7A.
7.
And I'll second that.
Okay, and where do you want that moved, Storm?
To after community announcements.
Okay. Okay, any others? Roberta?
Yes, I have 3 points on item item 5A, Roman numeral 8. Between the word snow, or the word AN to be changed to AND, and snow and ice. Also on agenda item, let's see, 5D, I need item 2 to add, after the word reading of, add ordinance number 2024-03, comma. And also under that, item 3, same agenda item, Roman numeral 3, between the word, after the words reading of, I need that to be added ordinance number 2024-04, comma. And this goes to finding them later in historical records.
Okay, Nina, do you have all that?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, any other suggested?
So
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, George, you have a suggestion?
I have a suggestion. It's my understanding that Zach may not be able to be with us
He's present.
for the entire
Oh, okay.
session. And so in reference to the planning commission and Zach, I'd like to see planning commission, namely 5C, moved after Storm's movement of 7A. Okay.
Second.
So let's start at the beginning. And so we started with the mayor suggesting that item 7B be deferred to the tree commission. I will second that item. So do we have any discussion regarding that?
Or are you officially striking it from the agenda?
It'll be striked from the agenda and sent back to the tree commission.
Okay. Thank you. I support that.
Zach, go ahead. You have a comment?
Yeah, I just want to make sure, the reason that it was on there was to just ensure that the tree commission comes back and gives us an update. So just a question is, do we leave it on there to make that an official motion, or are we comfortable just letting that happen behind the scenes?
I'm recommending that we just completely remove it from the agenda this evening.
George, go ahead.
I'd like to know who the adjoining neighbor was, with whose consent this was being deferred.
Did you hear that, Mayor?
Yeah, I did. Ms. Rago. Correction. Nina Tierney.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Any more discussion on that? All those in favor?
Yes.
Opposed? Okay, that was unanimous. We will be striking item 7B from the agenda. All right. And then the second request was a typo on item 7C. Do you know what the typo was?
Yeah, it was,
Oh, it says,
payment. Yeah, payment should have been pavement.
okay. So the motion is to change the typo on item 7C to reflect pavement instead of payment.
Second.
Okay, George, just a second. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor? Opposed?
Yes.
All right. All right, and then the next item is a motion to move 7A after community announcements. We already have a second from George. Do we have any discussion on that? Okay, all those in favor?
Yes.
Anyone opposed? Okay, that was unanimous as well.
Then the one was 5C, Nina.
5A8 to change the word and to and, where it says storm and ice.
No,
Snow. Thank you. Snow and ice. Okay. We don't have a second on that one.
Second.
Okay. Second for George. Any discussion on that one? Okay. All those in favor?
Yes.
Opposed? Sorry, Roberta, did you raise your hand for this? Okay. All right, that's 7 yes, 0 no. Motion passes. And then we also have item 5.8 to add ordinance number 2023-04, comma, I believe you had, Roberta, you had mentioned where that was supposed to be. What was the
Yeah.
preceding word?
Yeah, item number 5D as in dog, item number 2 under 5D. So it should be after reading of, it should say ordinance number 2024-03.
After reading of add ordinance number 2023 or 2024-03.
Correct.
Superimposing everything today. Okay, and then I guess we can kind of put them together.
Sure.
And then after the Roman numeral 3, after reading of add ordinance 24 or 2024-03, comma.
Oh, 04.
04.
Sorry.
04. Okay, and that's from Roberta. Second from George?
Yes.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Yes.
Opposed? All right, and that is unanimous as well. And then our final item was to move 5C, Planning Commission after 7A. That was from George, and we had a second from Storm. Do we have any discussion on that one? Zach, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm happy to do that. I just wanted to chime in and say I'm at the airport and I'm boarding a flight at 9:30. So I'm happy to stay on, but that's my hard cutoff tonight. So it's great if we can move that Planning Commission up just to make sure.
Thank you.
All right, great. Any other discussion? Okay, all those in favor? Opposed?
Yes.
Okay, and that passes 7-0, unanimous as well. Okay.
Thank you.
we'll be heading into public comment.
Do you have any public comment, Nina?
Yeah, we have one. Kim Michaels.
Okay.
So Kim is here from the Transportation Service about the library. I wasn't certain if town council would entertain hearing directly from the service. If not, she can speak during public comment.
I think public comment. My own question.
Yeah, why not? Well, you have 3 minutes. If you want to give kind of a brief overview of what you're here to speak about today.
Good evening. My name is Kim Michaels. I am the founder and CEO of the Excursions West Virginia, a transportation company that's already established in Charlestown that we are rapidly growing. It's come to our attention that there is a need for some transportation that could run from Lower Town up the hill. This would be done with low-speed vehicles, which are lithium ion. So there is no sound, there is no anything. Now I've been researching this for 2 weeks. I could talk about that for some time. So we have an idea. What we would like to do is to ask that we have a trial period that would possibly go to December, right before Christmas, which would be, I think, the 22nd of December. Right now, we would probably run on Thursday through Sunday. And we would take care of the insurance. It's hard to find, but I do have it. I have already created a company in the belief that we will have with this that would be not associated with the league custodians. So it would be, I think, a really valuable addition to the area. This would give a lot of people access to restaurants, to other places which you guys know, pulling the hill sometimes can be difficult for people. We would offer nighttime service as well. If people were staying at Airbnbs or other lodging, they could call us and we could provide private transportation if they wanted to go to dinner. But we would probably run until early evening. We would take care of a point of sale system, the insurance, the vehicle. Right now, the only one that I could find that's suitable, because we want to be street legal and we want to work with the police department and the mayor, is a 6-passenger, but it has all the bells and whistles that a vehicle has. So you have seat belts, turn signals, braking lights, stop, working windshield. It comes with a rain guard, so if we do have inclement weather, we would be able to take care of that. I currently have 6 drivers at Elite. 5 of the 6 are CDL drivers, so everybody passes driving alcohol tests over there. But some of those drivers are very interested in being a part of this project, especially one lady who's a native to the area. So that's kind of what we'd like to do. I mean, carts are very unobtrusive. We want to blend. You know, we don't want to stand out. There's no pink flamingos or anything like that. They are very, very quiet and really hoping that this could also cut down on the congestion that goes on down there. Working with a couple of Airbnb people who have suggested some parking, but even from the gazebo area, you could pick up there and offer up and down the hill.
Thank you very much. We probably will have more questions for you. We're going to post questions until we get to that discussion item, which is 7A, which is coming up shortly.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Who else do you have, Nina?
That was it.
Okay, thank you. Mayor's announcements. Council, I'm pleased to report that last Thursday, I had the opportunity to meet with Senator Capito and 2 of her principal aides to discuss a variety of relevant issues of concern to Harpers Ferry. And she was here for about 90 minutes, sitting at the conference table that you all are sitting at now. And I might add that I asked Storm and Nina and Debbie to join me during that meeting. A large percentage of our time focused on discussing our severely compromised water distribution system. The senator was updated on the current state of monies needed to fully upgrade the entire distribution system. We also discussed our high water rates, our high MHI, median household income, that reflects our inability most of the time to secure grants and match monies. We also discussed the high water rate loss that we have. And I even had the opportunity, and it may be council to your left on the table, I even had the opportunity to show the senator a very compromised piping system that we had taken out of the ground a couple days prior to the senator's arrival. We discussed also our limited success in securing federal, state, and county financial assistance for us. I might add that the senator was fully engaged during these discussions. In addition, we had, I think, lengthy discussions regarding the heavy impact that tourism has on our complete infrastructure and the heavy impact that hits the town. And also, I also discussed the inability of getting much assistance from the federal, the state, and the county level for the impact that tourism has on Harpers Ferry. It was kind of like an inverse relationship. We have a high impact of tourism and we have a low net effect of assistance from the federal, the state, and the county. Another significant area that I think we discussed at length involved the safety concerns regarding the rail system coming through Harpers Ferry. And literally, there are thousands of rail cars passing through Harpers Ferry every single day. And we talked about the possibilities of issues arising. We discussed the letters that myself and the other mayors have written CSX regarding concerns that we have about the speed of the trains, particularly coming through Harpers Ferry at that curve. All in all, I felt that the meeting was very, very beneficial. And I noted, and I think Storm and Nina and Debbie also did, that the senator was taking very extensive notes. I can say finally that it was not a grip and grin session. It was a sincere interest, and I'm looking forward to further discussions with the senator. Roberta?
Yes, thank you for recognizing me, Mayor, and congratulations on that meeting. I'm sure that was quite a thing. It was disappointing that all of us weren't invited, not maybe just to be a witness to see that. So I'm sorry I wasn't there to listen in as well. Was that meeting recorded, sir?
I'm sorry, you're breaking up.
Was there a recording of that meeting? That we
No,
can
there
have?
was not a recording.
Okay,
No.
will there be meeting minutes produced for that meeting?
No,
Can there be?
I just briefed you, Roberta. I can share additional information with you when I get back.
Okay,
Okay?
thank you. All right,
Yes.
very good.
Thank you. Community announcements, Hilltop, is there a representative there?
Oh, for reporter announcements, I have
I'm
one.
sorry, Nina, I am so sorry.
No
Let me
problem. I
go-
just wanted to remind everyone that September 26th is Save a Life Day at Bolivar Community Center, from 8 to 11, at the Bolivar Community Center. Bolivar and anyone from Harpers Ferry that would like to participate as well, will be the public health department is working with Bolivar in hosting this event, and it's about how to use naloxone, and they'll be giving out naloxone as well at that event, and it's about sort of understanding how we as a community can support opioid addiction within our community, and be a preventative force. So if anyone would like to attend, once again, that'll be September 26th from 8 to 11.
Okay. Thank you, Nina. And Nina, thank you for taking that charge on. I really appreciate that. It's a worthwhile issue. Now, let me turn to the community announcements. Do we have Hilltop?
No.
No.
No? Okay.
No.
Park Service?
Yeah, we do have a representative from the Park Service.
Okay.
Good evening. I'm Andrew Lee, the Mountain Park Service at Harpers Ferry. Superintendent Gossett couldn't be here tonight, but she asked me to make the following announcements. Number one, the Park Service has recently published statistics for spending by visitors to national parks throughout the national park system in 2023. So this is available at nps.gov. If you search under visitor spending effects, you can find out a lot of information, but the highlights I can tell you, our data here for Harpers Ferry National Historical Park goes back to 2013, and there's a very clear trend. Visitor spending, jobs supported, labor income, gateway community benefit, and total economic output have all nearly doubled since 2013 as a result of tourism growth at Harpers Ferry. In 2023, park visitors spent an estimated $23.8 million in local gateway regions while visiting the park. These expenditures supported a total of 319 jobs, $14.5 million in labor income, and $33.7 million in economic output in local gateway communities. Second announcement, the C&O Canal National Historical Park has awarded the contract for the work on the pedestrian bridge project, and are now in the permitting phase. So late fall remains the target start time for construction, subject to those permanent approvals. Harpers Ferry National Historical Park will be supporting additional PTA bus service between the Cavalier Heights Visitor Center and the C&O Canal towpath to help move visitors and hikers across the river during the closure. Another announcement, the HVAC replacement in the bookshop, the bathrooms, and the industry museum on Shenandoah Street is beginning. Staging is underway and construction should be starting very soon. There may be traffic disruptions on Shenandoah Street as a result of this project, but we will do our best to coordinate the Harpers Ferry Police to ensure vehicular safety. Number 4, the park, with support from our Washington, D.C. regional office, is interested in identifying possible unmarked burials at several cemeteries and mountains so that we can better protect and maintain those cemeteries. So we would like to hear from the local community. from local community members who may have any insight into this question. If you have any tips or are especially interested in this topic, I ask you to reach out to me at Andrew_Lee@nps.gov. Number 5, the National Park Service, the West Virginia Department of Tourism, and the West Virginia Division of Highways are working jointly to find time to discuss Federal Highway Administration grant opportunities for road and safety improvements and universal design upgrades. We are hopeful that this will lead to further conversations among the park, the state, and local jurisdictions. And finally, I would like to announce that Amtrak has reached out to the National Park Service to schedule a consulting parties meeting on behalf of the Federal Railway Administration to present alternatives that are being considered for ADA upgrades at the train station. The Park Service has not seen any draft alternatives yet, but we continue to communicate with them. Any questions? Yes.
The work on Shenandoah Street went the general time span, but that's expected.
Well, Tanya told me it would be completed in August 2024, so I think that must have been a typo. So
When was that?
I don't know, Storm, but I will find out and get back to you.
Roberta?
And is that the same question you're asking for the pedestrian bridge? The time frame for the
I
pedestrian
didn't
bridge?
ask about that.
Okay, so let me ask that. So what is the time frame schedule for the pedestrian bridge from start to finish?
I do not know, but I will look into it.
Okay.
Trying to know that. It's a Sienna Canal Led project, but we do have a supporting.
Bridge.
I,
And-
I did talk to the superintendent over the weekend, Andrew, about that. And she says there are still some things up in the air that are beyond CNO's control. But she said that if everything goes smoothly, it could be start as early as late November.
Yes, you know more than I do.
Thank you, Andrew. Roberta, you,
Just one
Roberta,
more question.
the question?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. So the West Virginia Tourism and the DOH conversations regarding grants, hopefully that includes Bolivar as well. And is there any way that, again, we can be present to either facilitate or help with that conversation? In other words, a representative from Harpers Ferry.
You're talking about the Department of Tourism.
Tourism and DOH collaboration for grants.
I assume that our superintendent will reach out to stakeholders. It sounds to me like it's just a internal scheduling type of thing at this point.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Andy.
It's good to see Chris seated. Chris, it's good to see you still seated, Chris, after the announcement regarding the pedestrian bridge.
You're cutting out really bad. It's hard to hear. What,
Okay.
can you repeat what you said?
No, go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying that the superintendent and I had talked about the pedestrian pathway, and there are still some definite uncertainties about the time schedule. But we are talking canal towns and trail in town are talking with the park about both parks, CNO mainly, and Harpers Ferry about a public information meeting at some point as the details get firmed up. And Mayor, I did also have one other quick announcement. The Canal Town Partnership meetings are starting their new season on Wednesday morning at Brunswick City Hall. Once again, this year we will be meeting on the second Wednesday of each month in various canal towns up and down the towpath. And certainly town council and administrators and staff would be welcome if they care to attend any of those. And the public generally is welcome if they let us know. I'll let you know more information. And one particular thing that is in the works works with Canal Town. On October 5th, there's going to be an art trail launch that will include some special events up and down the canal towns. Here in Harpers Ferry Bolivar, Sharma Quarles and I have been arranging to have an art show at the train station on Saturday, October 5th. Looking right now like hopefully 5 artists will be down in the town room at the train station that day. So we'll try and get out more information soon, but everyone would be welcome to go down and see some of the local artists' work.
Thank you, Chris. Are there any other community announcements?
Roberta has
Roberta?
it.
Yes, sir. Thank you. I have 2 quick announcements. September 28th is the Blue Ridge Arts and Crafts Fest. So people, I hope you all take part in that. It was a nice event. It covers all of a lot of the arts and crafts and artists here in Jefferson County. But also on a national note, September 17th is Constitution Day and Citizenship Day. It marks the commemoration on September 17th on 1787 of the signing of the United States Constitution, which is a document we all hold dear to our hearts, and I hope that document stays in place. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Roberta. Nina, would you lead us through number 4A and 4B, please?
You're actually jumping right now to 7A.
That's what I said. Exactly what I said. We're gonna go to 7A.
Yeah.
Who's handling that? Is that going to be you, Storm?
Yes, yeah. So we've heard from Kim Michaels herself, but the short version is that we were approached by her proprietor of a local transportation services company called Elite Excursions about establishing a street legal cart livery service to carry people up and down Ohio and Washington streets. And they would like to conduct a trial to determine if this would be a viable thing for the town and workable and desirable for the town. And some of the things that we have discussed have been, obviously we need to work out where would be appropriate drop-off points, pickup points, literal rules of the road. And I imagine they would need to work very closely with the HFPD, potentially the Parking Commission, to make sure that this is something that is going to serve residents, visitors, and the community at large safely.
Okay. Thank you, Storm. George.
Thank you. With the commissioner asking Storm a question, you say you've discussed with her?
Yes.
Okay. And who else?
And who else?
I mean, you and she and any other members of the council or any other committees discussed this?
I don't believe so.
Okay. I'd just like to opine here that this sounds like it's a great idea potentially. I think that all of the details before we have a trial basis need to be looked at by the planning commission. This is firmly in their area, and so that would be whatever we do here today. I think should be a motion to direct it to the planning commission for studies of what it entails and impact and feasibility. So,
Wait a minute. George, I have a question.
for me,
Are you intimating that a potential transportation issue cuts across the line of a land use responsibility of the Planning Commission?
I don't know.
Roberta, put your hand down, please.
Sure. I don't know about your definition, land use, what you just stated on it, but it seems to me that the planning commission should be involved in this use of the town roads, and yeah, I think if any group should hear about this, you should hear the planning commission. And
Okay.
then 4 questions, and then they could come forward with a recommendation to the town.
Zach has his hand raised. He's had it
Go
for a
ahead.
while.
Go ahead, Zach.
Hi, yeah, I just wanted to chime in. I'm confused why this has come here. Normally, if this is a business application, it would go to the ordinance compliance officer, and if it needs some sort of, variance, it would go to BZA. I don't know if this would go to the Planning Commission, but I also would point out that it's a tricky thing for Harper's Ferry because we essentially have two different types of zoning. We have residential and commercial. And then the streets are a public, public property. So to me, it sounds like this would be a business that would need to be based out of a commercially zoned space and licensed, as the ordinance compliance officer would check. But then it would need to comply with all of our, traffic traffic rules and organizations. And then since High Street and Washington Street are state highway, it would have to conform with state highway regulations.
Correct.
If I could, oh, go ahead. Sorry, Greg.
No, I was just going to refer back to what you said in the beginning with the impact on this with the HFPD. They would have to look at this very closely because it is a state highway. It's not one of our roads. And there would have to be, I don't know if John is there. He may want to address this later on. I agree with Zach. In respect for George and Roberta, I don't see this as a planning commission issue. I just see this as an issue of somebody, like Zach says, they're applying for a business. But the step further than that is that there are a variety of issues that have to be taken into consideration to comply with state code. That's all. Roberta, you have your hand been up for a couple of minutes. What do you got?
Yes, thank you, sir. I believe one of the first sections in the Planning Commission purview is that the Planning Commission is responsible for the environs of this town of Harper's Ferry. So the streets and how we're going to handle this come under the environs, and also does the public safety and welfare. So I think it is pertinent to be reviewed by the Planning Commission for various reasons. I think Storm brought many of them up. I think it's an excellent proposal. I think actually there's something in the upcoming comprehensive plan that talks about how can we get a transportation entity to partner with us, or to partner bringing people who suffer going up and down that hill in the heat of the day with their luggage and whatever to get to Upper Town. So I think it's an excellent proposal. And they actually implemented something like this in the city of Tampa with electric vehicles, 6-passenger electrical vehicles. It was highly successful, and within a year, they were doubling their size of their fleet. So I commend you for bringing this forward to Harper's Ferry. What I would like to do, I don't know if you've received any documentation from the company on their extensive insurance coverage of what they propose to do, but it's very important. We do have pick-up and drop-off locations. Every municipality has that now for Uber and Lyft because it is a problem. The Uber and Lyft people drop them in the middle of the street, and I don't know how many people are reported that have been injured to that effect. I would like to propose a workshop, that the workshop be formed to visit with the vendor, to visit with planning, to include the police department, maybe the fire department, and parking, because obviously if you have a pick up and drop off point, we might lose one of our parking spaces that is being paid for in town, or maybe a couple of them. So I commend this opportunity, but I would like it to be done the right way, and let's plan it accordingly for everyone involved so that the vendor doesn't end up with a lawsuit, town of Harper's Ferry doesn't end up with a lawsuit, and we don't have anybody injured trying to get it in and out of the vehicle and being picked up. So I would suggest and would entertain, and I'll take that motion if you like, Storm, is that we would do a workshop and meet with all the parties and plan this properly.
Storm is next, and then Chris, and then George.
Yeah, actually, I brought it to town council for this reason. It's novel, it's new. We don't have a built process for it. I will say that absolutely, I feel planning commission should be consulted, but as far as how this gets processed and what's the center of it, I do feel what Zach was saying, to some extent, the mayor and myself, that it is within town hall itself, a business that's looking at something, absolutely, it needs to be done properly. What I fear happening is it's just getting killed in committee. That we have an entrepreneur that sees an opportunity for the town, for its residents and everybody else, but there's a window of time for doing it. And I feel like we're not going to dive into this head first. I don't even know if it will work. I don't think anybody knows if it will work. But to not have it be just bogged down.
Thank you, Storm. Chris?
Forgive me if I missed something major here, but you're thinking of a service that would be funded by the riders.
Correct.
Okay. And then just something else to keep in mind with our relationship with the park. I know there's a lot of confusion on people. They feel that when they visit the park that they pay a parking fee. It's actually an admission fee, and I think that would be important to for people to be aware of, that when they get a ride other than the park shuttle into Lower Town, if they're to visit the park, that it would be a park admission.
Right,
Well.
I think it would be seen more as, a separate, I think most people would probably, not really they'd have free rides up and down. But we would definitely post it,
Yeah.
Drivers would be, aware that this could be something that the people would bring to them, so.
Yeah,
We
just something to
definitely
be
have
aware of.
something ready, and if we deal a lot with a lot of different people.
I think it sounds like a great service, and
Thank you so much.
could be tremendously helpful in town.
George is
Uh,
next.
Thank you, Chris. Nina, you and I are stepping on one another.
Okay,
Let me try to do it from here, and if I get in
Okay.
trouble, I'll signal you, okay?
Perfect.
Thank you. Roberta, second and last comment.
Thank you, sir. I disagree that it could be bogged down in committee. I'd be happy to propose an ad hoc committee that would conduct that workshop and expedite this, because I think it's a viable solution, and it is a solution we need now, we need today, we need to try it. So I would be happy to, and I would support, and I'd be happy to make that motion to have an ad hoc committee that would work with the vendor, and the vendor is Elite Excursions
What's the actual name of the company?
The actual name is Harper's Ferry Livery.
Livery. Okay, to work with Harper's Ferry Livery to gather all the necessary paperwork, hold a workshop, and make this happen very quickly. And with that being very quickly, I would hope that the town council would support various quick and special meetings hosted very quickly and make this happen very quickly. And I'd like to offer that as a solution.
Thank you, George.
Yes, I withdraw the idea of sending it to planning. I think the workshop with planning included and the other people is a great way to get everybody together who's involved in this. I'd also like to point out that it's not on the state highway that's going to be used, unless, of course, we're planning illegal U-turns in the middle of Washington Street. We're going to be on Harpers Ferry streets. We have done many great bread and breakfasts that are on Harpers Ferry Street. So there's definitely a Harpers Ferry Street matter as well. So I like to endorse the workshop idea, and I also like the idea of guiding it. We've had a lot of special meetings here, and this is the kind of thing that deserves a special meeting, man.
And if I can,
Thank you, George.
oh yeah, Mr. Mayor, may I?
Is that your
Go ahead. Second and last, Storm, if it's a
I was trying
comment.
to suggest the membership. I love the site. I would suggest a member of Planning Commission, a member of Town Council, member of the Parking Commission, a member of HFPD, and a mayor's representative. And Kim, I was going to say the park needs to be consulted on this closely. So is it appropriate to have, I'm asking you, Greg, is it appropriate to have a member of the park on this committee?
Are you a member of the park?
Yes.
Is that what you're suggesting? No. we will confer with them, but I don't see the need for them to be a member of this ad hoc committee if that storm, in fact, is the direction that this council is going to pursue.
Can you repeat the membership? We've got planning,
Planning, town council, parking, mayor's representative, and HFPD. Mayor meeting town hall.
and then, fire, you think fire needs to be, you think we're okay with fire?
Another, there are others that would be consulted, but
Okay, and what
Within
about
the
DOA? What's Virginia DOA? Someone from them? just-
not as in our committee.
Okay, all right,
Zach has his hand raised.
All right, Zach. Thanks, Nathan.
Yeah, I just wanted to chime in. This is my second and last. That I'm extremely apprehensive about this for two reasons. One, we have an established process for vetting and approving new businesses in town, and I don't think committees should get involved with that. And second, my biggest concern is congestion on streets for residents. This sounds like a good idea for tourists, but it sounds also like a business that would be operating in districts of town that are currently entirely residential, and we need to preserve those residential areas as residential only. So I'm just wanted to voice my apprehension on those two fronts, and that's all. But thank you.
Thank you, Zach. All right, so we don't have any motion on the floor. This has just been discussion so far.
I believe I had a motion, but you were gonna, I believe I made a motion, I was waiting for a second, I guess.
I didn't hear
The
it.
motion was it fully crafted? I thought it was kind of being brainstormed.
Yeah.
But I don't
We
have,
talked about membership, I thought maybe that was the amendment to the motion or something, but.
no, we gotta let's make the floor.
Okay, all right,
There was no-
I'd like that idea. All right, so Storm, help me out, if you can, reiterate what I said earlier. I would like to propose a motion that the town of Harper's Ferry work with the vendor, Elite, Harper's Ferry Elite Excursion,
No.
Harper's Ferry.
sorry, like that, let's start over. I would like to propose a motion that Harper's Ferry work with the vendor, Harper's Ferry Recovery. That's it? LLC to develop what do you want to call this, a ride share or
To explore deployments of explore a business plan for a motorized delivery service in Harper's Ferry.
which would receive all documentation from the vendor for review, which will involve a workshop with the membership consisting of a member from planning, a member from the parking committee, the mayor,
Or
designee, the town council's designee, and a member of the police department. That will be held in special meetings, and this will be expedited for the benefit of town and the town's tourism.
All right, is there a second on, is
We
there a
are
second on
not
the motion?
approving a business, we're not looking at a business today. Just approving the
Is there a second on the motion?
I'll second it.
All right. Discussion on the motion. George?
Just something quickly. Should this be subject to approval of the business application as Zach has suggested? Or is the horse on the other side of the cart? Now, I noticed the business owner nodded.
That I've already done with the application. I'm ready to submit them. Ready to some application. I invested a lot of time, I'm already invested money. So I have to also really know the business and need to, it has to. I can go ahead and form it and I can send you the applications, but it's.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. That was my question. I'm in favor of this, but That was my question. Which comes first?
Zach has his hand raised.
Go ahead, Zach.
Just suggestion that either a member of the town office or the ordinance compliance officer should be a part of this committee.
Yeah, I'm going to handle that, Zach, if in fact this gets approved.
Thank you.
Roberta has her hand raised.
All right, who else? Roberta?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Again, I think the business operation permit is premature. Let's go ahead and plan this for the town. Let's figure out how we're going to, get the, drop-off places designated. Let's go ahead and put that in your final business plan, that you are going to, have X, Y, and Z areas designated as your drop-off, pickup. You're gonna have operating hours to disinfect, blah, 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 blah. So I think the workshop and the special meetings and getting this all on paper as helping them, the vendor, present a more formal business plan to us, the town, is a better order. I think that's the cart that we need to have before the horse takes off.
Thank you, Roberta. Chris?
Yeah, I would like to oppose the motion. I feel that it's better handled by the town office and the police department. And through the town office, I think the OCO and the, you know, all of the legal and logistic questions can be addressed to the appropriate people. And, you know, it's not, it sounds like a wonderful new service, but it's not entirely something that has not happened before. We've had shuttles running for Old Time Christmas. We've had shuttles running for other festivals, and so you know, I think it's a little bit more in the line of a typical business application. So.
Okay, thank you. Roberta, second and last.
Yes, and to rebuttal Chris's comment, that's temporary. The Old Time Christmas is temporary and the events are temporary. This may turn into a long yearly product that this Harper's Ferry has. And I think let's get to the 21st century.
Mhm.
Let's have this done. Let's cater to our tourism. The numbers are only increasing, as the parks just told us. And I think it would be a fantastic benefit to us. Global warming and climate change isn't going to go away. And the people coming up and down those hills, I see them. I see them sitting on the ground sweating. I have a hard time coming up that hill myself. So I think this would be a great opportunity to help those tourists, not only the tourists, but the residents can take advantage of this. Thank you.
Thank you, Roberta. Any other discussion?
Yeah, just briefly. So I'm a little torn as to whether having even an expedited committee versus town hall. Zach, just speaking to your point, that's actually one of the first things I brought up with Ms. Michaels was, where is this going to run? And this is what would be worked out, but the general idea would really be along the spine of Washington and High Streets, which are the main conduit. So it's that's all.
Thank you, Storm. Any other discussion?
I have a comment.
Go ahead.
I just feel like it maybe is a little bit premature and that maybe it would be worth submitting the application, talking with the police department, talking with town hall, coming up with a more solid plan, and then having a workshop where members of different committees can provide insight and input. Because I just worry that if everyone is coming with suggestions from ground zero, it's going to actually take longer to come up with a plan versus having like a really solid, this is our schedule, these are some proposed spots, we've talked with the police department. Like if you come with already sort of a developed plan and then are bringing it to the different committees and for their feedback, I think we might see faster results versus the other direction. But
Thank you, Nina. The chair is going to take a discussion point, and that is I am not opposed to the business and to the venture. I am opposed to the process that if this council approves that we'll go through. Any other discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of the motion. George, go ahead real quick. Go ahead, George.
All due respect, Nina, I think it's going to go faster if you have the community inputs first before the business plan. You know, and I think that's what the owner here is asking for. it's gonna go fast. If we get through. Thank you.
Thank you, George. All those in favor of the motion, raise your hand. 1, 2, I can see 2. Swing the camera the other way, please.
There's none.
What's Zach's vote?
I would
Is
vote
he
no on this
Favor
one.
of? Okay, all those opposed to the motion, raise your hand.
No.
The mayor votes no.
I'd like to make a motion. Oh, sorry.
Oh, yeah.
All right, what was the result? What was, you guys were blacked out. I'm sorry, Storm.
Yes,
What was-
5, no.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead, Storm.
I move to have Town Hall work with Harper's Ferry Livery LLC to explore a business plan for a motorized livery service in Harper's Ferry.
I second that.
I'd like to amend that. I'd like to amend that motion to include a member of the planning commission to be involved in those meetings and take the recommendations to the planning commission for review and vetting, proper vetting for the public safety and welfare of the town residents and the environs of this town.
I second that.
Would you
All right.
accept the modification?
Let me hear the modification.
Just that a member of planning commission would be part of the process.
I'm sorry, what was that?
That a member of planning commission would be part of the process, but not the rest.
A member of the planning commission appointed by the planning commission.
But how does this then become part of the business package she needs to present so that we're all meeting the requirements of public safety and welfare and environment and meeting maybe some of the things that are in the comprehensive plan? And how do we get that all vetted?
I withdraw my suggestion.
All right, Nina, I am
I
the
can
chair.
make an amendment to that.
Go ahead, Nina.
Just amendment, I'm just trying, 1 second, I'm just wordsmithing. And to present the business proposal and license with the input from town hall at the next town meeting in October.
Well, I think we have a motion on the floor in a second.
Oh, yeah,
I thought you were amending that.
She's amending that.
yeah,
Oh,
I was adding that to the end, that once the business plan is finished,
I see.
it be proposed, presented at the October meeting for feedback and next steps.
Okay, Nina, the chair is totally confused right now. Could you unconfuse me where we are with the main motion and the amendment that is on the floor?
Can you read the main motion that you made, Storm?
Main motion, as it is, to have Town Hall work with Harper's Ferry Livery LLC to explore a business plan for a motorized livery service in Harper's Ferry.
And my
Okay.
amendment is, and to present,
My amendment first.
oh, reverse amendment first.
No, I want to know what,
No, we're gonna have to go back, because it's,
Make it true.
Okay. To have the planning commission be involved in development of the business plan and vet all the public safety and welfare issues and the environs issues for the town of Harper's Ferry.
and then my motion, my amendment, I did not realize that was still on the floor. My amendment does not work with that, so I'm gonna actually strike my amendment.
okay. So what we're voting on is the amendment that Roberta just brought up. Is that correct?
Correct, just to have town or planning committee be involved in the business proposal and licensing process
And public safety.
and public safety.
All right, all those in favor of the amended motion, raise your hand. I can only see 2 hands up. Swing that, there you go. What's Zach's, is his Jack's hand up?
No,
Okay, opposed to the amendment, raise your hand.
Opposed.
Reflect, the mayor is opposed also. Amendment fails. We're back to the main motion. And just for the record, Nina, kindly repeat the main motion for me.
Gotta be done the right way.
But it's gonna work.
I'll try one more time.
Sorry, Roberta has requested an amendment to the main motion again, which was the main motion was to have, sorry, I'm gonna paraphrase here because I don't have the exact wording, was to have town hall work with Harper's Ferry,
Livery.
thank you, LLC to create a, business plan and to submit their permit application.
And I'd like to amend that motion that the town council designate town council member Roberta Mead Curry as a representative to assist the vendor in working through the concerns that the public safety and welfare and environs of this town are met.
Second that.
Any discussion on the amended motion from Roberta? All those in favor of the amended motion, raise your hand. Swing it. Opposed, raise your hand.
Opposed.
Amendment fails. Back to the main motion. All those in favor of the main motion, raise your hand. My screen is blocked, Debbie, by Zach's name.
Okay, so you have Nina, Storm, Chris, Craig, and George with their hand up. Roberta's hand is not up. Zach, how do you vote?
I'm opposed here as well.
Okay, the main motion passes 5-2.
You didn't take a no vote, sir.
Mayor, how are you voting?
You didn't call for a no vote.
Call for no votes.
I'm sorry, I can't hear.
All those who are not in favor, that's what you did not ask. You have to ask for who's not in favor of the motion.
I thought I already did.
No, you
No.
didn't. Sorry.
Okay, I will ask who is opposed to the motion. 1.
Zach.
Opposed.
Okay, 2. The motion carries 5-2. All right, now we go to 5C. Zach, Planning Commission.
Okay, just in brief, to keep things short, we did have a regular meeting. We're still working on the comprehensive plan. Our next meeting, which is next Tuesday, September 17th, will be a combination of our regular planning commission meeting as well as a small workshop on future land use to add a land use map to the comprehensive plan. That's the main update for Planning Commission. So if we're okay, I can move on to the next item, which is discussion and action on proposed lot line adjustments on Cliff Street. This is item 5C2. And just for clarification, we've had a few different lot line adjustments floating around. This is a new one. This has not been to town council before. It is for a small lot line adjustment on Cliff Street to move a lot line a few feet to the west, I believe. You should have the documentation in your packet. It passed Planning Commission with a majority vote. So I would move that to have the town council approve the lot line adjustment as suggested by Planning Commission.
Zach, are you putting that in the motion?
Yes.
Okay.
Second.
Do I have a second on the motion?
Yes.
I'd like to amend that motion.
Who seconded it?
Storm.
Storm, thank you, Storm. You were blocked out for a minute. Any discussion?
I need to amend that motion. That the lot line adjustment is based on, just like we did in the planning commission, that it's based on a survey provided to town council with the date of June 10th, 2024.
Is there a second on the amended?
I will second it.
Discussion on the amended motion.
Is it June 10 or
It says
August?
June 10th, 2024 here at the
The
bottom.
bottom? Oh, I see. Presented to Planning Commission on,
It looks like
yeah.
8/20/24.
Oh, I see. No, but she's saying it's on the document itself. Towards the bottom, June 10.
Oh, got it. Okay.
We did the same thing in the planning commission.
Okay, any other discussion on the amended motion? All those in favor of the amended motion, raise your hand.
Discussion, some discussion, sir. Roberta has discussion.
Go ahead,
Okay.
Roberta.
Okay, thank you.
Quickly, Roberta.
Yes, sir. I caution, this as I did, for my comments in the planning commission. We didn't have all the information. We didn't have an official report from the OCO, which is required. And we didn't have, what the clearances were from the foundation, historical foundation, the patio. And we were concerned that maybe that lot line may not really, be without any other encroachments. So I asked that we had further investigation, that the surveyor or their contractor or someone present to us that there's no foundation creep or there's nothing encroaching past that newly proposed property line that may cause a problem with the owner getting approved at the county or create anything with them down the line historically in the future. So I wasn't comfortable without that information provided to us, and so I cautioned the town council that we still don't have that information. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion on the amended motion? Hearing none. All those in favor of the amended motion, raise your hand.
Wait, did we vote on the amendment?
No, we have to vote on the amendment.
We're voting on the amendment.
We're voting on the amended motion. Raise your hand if you're in favor of the amended motion.
The amendment is
just
just
the
to add the date of the claim to the motion.
The chair is opposed. Okay, we have, is Nina, does Zach have his hand up?
Yes, I'm in favor.
Okay, all those opposed? My hand is up. I don't know, Zach is blocking my screen out. Okay,
Storm is opposed.
I just called for the opposition.
Two
Chris, how did
opposed.
you vote?
I abstain.
Okay, so it is, motion carries, the amended motion carries 4-2 opposed.
And one
4-2
abstain.
opposed. Main motion.
Can we have a
It
record
was
on that thing?
5-1 and 1.
No, there's not, there's
No,
no,
it's 4 yes, 2 no.
abstain
1
voting, abstain vote does not count as a vote.
Pardon me.
It needs to be recorded.
It's written.
All right, so we're at the main motion that Zach made. We have a second on the main motion. All those in favor of the main motion, raise your hand.
Yes.
Thank you. Opposed? Again, Zach is blocking my view. I don't know if you had any.
Roberta has her hand
Roberta,
up.
all right. Motion, the main motion carries 6-1. Thank you. What else you got, Zach?
Thank you. I just want to point out that I think we need the signature of the mayor on the final plat for it to be sent up to the county level. So when you're back, that will be available for you.
Sure, thank you.
Next would be 5C3, discussion action on proposed local traffic only beyond this point signs on Church Street and Public Way. This is something that came to the Planning Commission via the Parking Committee discussion. There was an open house or a large group meeting for residents on Church Street a few months ago at this point. And one of the focus of that meeting, not to speak too much on behalf of the Parking Committee, that meeting was about parking and congestion on Church Street. And one tangible outcome of that was to install signage at either end of Church Street that says something to the effect of local traffic only, to prohibit or limit the amount of tourist vehicles that drive up and down Church Street, which is a steep hill. It has a blind turn. It's very narrow. It's a 1-lane, 2-way street. And so this, it was a significant consensus of the residents at that parking committee meeting, consensus at the planning commission that these signs would be useful. They're of small impact visually, but would have a large impact for safety and congestion. So I would move that the town council approve 2 local traffic only signs at either end of Church Street.
Second.
Second from George, discussion on the motion.
Yeah, one question was discussed. What is the definition of local traffic and how is that enforced?
Yeah. So if I can respond, the wording, I think we chat about a couple different things. It was meant to be vague enough to allow for church traffic, which is local to the church, which uses Church Street to access it, deliveries and emergency vehicles, which would all have local reasons for being on the street. And for folks who are using the Airbnbs that are on the street, they have a local destination. We felt that, or at least I felt that putting something like residential traffic only was a bit too restrictive. The idea is just some visualization that might deter some percentage of wayward vehicles, which do have a history of blocking or getting hung up on some of the tighter spots up there.
Okay, yeah. Okay, so this isn't something where the police are going to be set up looking for people who shouldn't be on Church Street. This is something that visually will discourage people from going up on it. I certainly see that happen all the time. Folks going up that street who really shouldn't.
Yep. Yeah, and I mean, a lot of people do want to see the church, but often the best way to access that as a visitor is on foot as opposed to vehicle.
Yep. Thank you, Zach.
Thank you, Zach.
Yeah.
And this is also the position of the parking committee also. Any other discussion on the motion? Chris?
Yeah, I just want to note that ordinarily I'm opposed to discouraging use of public streets, but I do see so much congestion, so many dangerous turns off of Church Street onto High Street, and I think this is warranted. I think it's a good idea.
Thank you, Chris. Any other discussion? Roberta?
Just real quick, I'm glad you're thinking about the public safety and welfare on the streets, because that's what the last issue was about. So it's good that we're taking care of part of our streets, but not when it comes to things that we really need to pay attention to. We got a new opportunity, and
Point of
our
order,
public safety.
we're on to a new item now.
It's interesting
Thank
that
you.
you're concerned about that now.
Thank you. Any other discussion?
I just have one other point, if I may.
Go ahead, Zach.
The last bit of discussion, actually, which I should have included in the motion, is that the location of the signs should probably be specified. The difference, there are two, the loop that goes up to the church is comprised of two different local streets. There's Church Street and then Public Way. Public Way is at least in part owned and operated and maintained by the Park Service. So our options are to install these just on the highest portion of Church Street, sort of after you pass the church, and then as you go up the hill from where Washington Street becomes High Street, or to work with the Park Service and put them at either end, Public Way and Church Street. So just throwing that out there. Happy to just have them on the simplest answer is just on Church Street, and we can look at a map to point out exactly where those go.
And Mr. Mayor.
Looks like
Yeah.
a camera. Oh, there we go.
And Town Council, would we be open to hearing from the representative from the Park Service who is here about that? If they were willing?
No, I think I just want to move on.
Okay.
Before we take a vote, the assumption will be that HFPD will be involved from the standpoint of public safety with the placement of signs to ensure that where the signs are placed, it's not going to cause an issue regarding public safety. And then I would ask John if he's in there. He certainly can reach out to the Park Service if this motion passes to get any input from their perspective. Any other discussion on the motion? All those in favor of the motion, raise your hand.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries. Nina, I couldn't see your hand. Did you?
It was up. Yeah. So 7 yes, and then I guess anyone opposed?
Opposed? 0. Thank you. Okay, thank you, Zach.
Thanks.
I'm sorry, Zach, go ahead.
No, I was just saying thanks. And thanks for moving that up so I could speak to it before I have to hop on the plane.
Okay, and safe travels, Zach.
Thanks. I'm still on for another hour at least, so
Oh, okay.
not getting rid of me that quickly.
All right. Let's go to approval of minutes. We are at 4A and B. Roberta. Nina, would you walk us through that? I'm sorry, Roberta.
Yeah, so I just got actually some feedback about the minutes. I haven't had a chance to review it, so I'm gonna postpone the minutes for August 12th until October after I have a chance to review the feedback that I received. And then so that postponing A. And then B is approval of reformatted minutes from July 2023 through December 2023. Basically the minutes from July 2023 to December 2023 had a slightly different format that was being used. It's not a dramatic change, it's mostly just how I was bulleting things. What I was not mentioning motion passes at the end beneath the vote. So I made sure to update that. And also some of the indentation and yeah, just making sure that the language was universal and it was really clear if a motion passed or motion failed in the minutes. So this is just to sort of pass the reformatting of those minutes.
I'll second it.
Okay. Second is George. Any discussion on that? I guess motion to move to approve the reformatted minutes from July 2023 to December 2023. George has seconded that. Is there any discussion on that? Okay, all those in favor?
Yes.
Okay, and that's unanimous. So that's the completion for the minutes. And I'll
Thank you,
have
Rebecca.
to sign the reformatted minutes to get back.
Okay. Nina, I had to step away for a minute. Did you have you covered 4B?
Yes, we covered
Okay.
4B, that passed. And I just was mentioning that I'll have you sign the reformatted minutes when you come back for the record.
Okay. Thank you, Nina. Appreciate that. Town
Yeah.
reports, budget and finance. Storm.
Yeah, A1,
Actually, A1 is kind of yours, Mayor.
I'm prepared to talk to it, but this is the water department repair expenditures for several service lines along Washington Street in Bolivar.
Where it was brought to our attention by the Public Works Administrator that the one service line that was pulled out of the ground had a 3/8 hole in it that was leaking 9,000 gallons a day, and proposed to replace those service lines off of the main going down the street by sleeving them as the contractor moved down through Bolivar. And you approved that, sir, and you were going to speak to that here.
Right. What we had was when the contractor, I believe it was a state grant that's working this, as they approach each house, a lateral comes off of the main. That lateral goes underneath the sidewalk and it goes into a meter, and then it goes into the residence. What was happening was, as they were breaking up the sidewalk and then compacting the dirt for the new concrete, it was creating some catastrophic issues with some very, very compromised piping that, council, is to your left if it's still on the table. It's not, Storm? Oh, okay.
It's not, but we all know how ugly the pipes can look when they come out of the ground.
Okay, so the issue was, there was a grave concern that as we go down the line and start accessing those laterals coming off of the main, that we were just going to be, or the contractor was just going to be busting through each one of them, as they're required by code to compact the dirt and soil once the sidewalk is removed. That was the issue. So it was necessary that we engage Greenridge, and they are there, and their objective was to stay well ahead of the contractors coming in, compacting the dirt and putting in the sidewalk. And they had a process, they being Greenridge, to ensure that the new line being put in is adequately protected. And that was hence the issue of the emergency authorization that I signed, I guess, last week sometime.
And budget-wise, we had, council had approved about $33,000 to be used from the Renew and Replace Fund a while back for several projects that are almost complete, but not quite. We should have an update on that soon about that. And we kind of did an estimate as to if we won't use all of that money. So we kind of tried to estimate if we didn't use all of it, how much do we think we use, how much extra would we need? Probably $5,000 to $7,000, which could be added from renew and replace, or probably could be absorbed in the current year budget. So based on that, the mayor made that approval.
Okay, thank you, Debbie.
Roberta has her hand up.
Go ahead, Roberta.
What was the emergency dollar amount for?
Debbie?
It was originally about $16,000. It will be less than that.
Okay, and are we going to be reimbursed from this project's contingency funds, which I hope they have put in the proposal, because it wasn't a direct act of ours that caused this problem. It's a direct act of a project ongoing and maybe a mistake or error by the contractor. So are we going to petition to be reimbursed from their contingency funds? And can
No,
we-
I am not going to do that. It was a direct result of compromised piping, Roberta, that is in the ground, not anything that the contractor did wrong. Okay?
And if if something does happen in the future, let's say something does happen and causes another one to break, but it was okay, then will we be reimbursed from the contingency fund if they call us and say, hey, we need some more emergency money?
Debbie,
They are not getting emergency money. We are spending funds out of Waterworks monies to contract Green Ridge, who is our maintenance of mains contractor, to do this work on our behalf so that we do not create an emergency because of these pipes being in such deplorable condition and not being properly sleeved. The timing of this sidewalk project just happens to not be handy for us. And this is what would have happened if, back in 2013, this work could have all been done with the pipes. It would have been sleeved and it would have been in better condition and wouldn't have been a problem.
So like, given so in this case, like because of the condition of the pipes, there's no way we could ever try and hold anyone else accountable. It would be maybe if it was a different situation, maybe a different story, but we don't even have an idea as to what that looks like. So I think what you're asking is if someone had damaged the pipes, if maybe whatever, but unfortunately with the state of the pipes, we can't make that argument.
And a silver lining on this is that these are pipes,
They need to be.
this work would need to be done anyway. And as in the past, we've had work done, we've been able to count it against our matching amount. So, yeah, this
Yeah.
will net out.
Pardon me, what action are you requesting?
None.
It's just advisory to,
Discussion and action here.
well, I think that was a precaution. It was,
We didn't know.
Put in about 7 days.
he's just advising.
So it's a discussion.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. Discussion and action regarding procurement and process review. These documents were in the packet that was sent around. So there are minor changes that were made to the procurement process established in 2021, primarily adjusting dollar thresholds that were for requiring additional due diligence. So it goes from a threshold where you do not require competing bids to you get oral bids and on up the scale. So the dollar amounts for triggering those change. And then a new quick review reference sheet. And all of these elements comply with West Virginia State Code for the finance officer. I move to adopt the changes to the procurement process as submitted.
There's a second on the motion. We have a second from George. Discussion on the motion to approve.
Quick
Go ahead,
question.
Roberta.
There was a West Virginia law, and I don't have the House bill or Senate bill in front of me, but it was a $10,000 amount that said, is that what this is? You're correcting that, West Virginia law code regarding
No.
the $10,000 increment?
It's the
Okay.
specific, I think it's marked up in the document.
Okay.
We have parameters for items that cost either below or above $10,000 covered in this. These are our procedures tailored under West Virginia code. And so we are just updating our own procedures for some minor points.
Okay, so it didn't take into account the new House bill that passed or Senate bill that passed. Okay, that's fine. That's all I'm asking. We still need to do that. We're still waiting for Ken Sayers' review of those changes. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Other discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of the motion, raise your hand.
Yes.
Opposed? Motion carries, whatever the count was, Roberta. I mean, geez, I do that all the time. Nina?
6 yes, 1 no.
Have a
Okay.
nice weekend, Greg.
Yeah.
To
Thank
be
you.
fair, they do look much alike. Discussion and action
The rough room, huh?
regarding funding for the fiscal year 25 Art in the Park.
Wait, hang on, I missed
Oh.
it.
Purchasing thresholds.
Purchasing thresholds. For town council policy, each fiscal year, town council is required to review and adopt new purchasing thresholds. And these were in the packet. If there are questions, I move to adopt the fiscal year 25 purchasing thresholds as presented.
Second.
On the motion, second from George. Discussion on the motion to approve. Roberta?
Can you, put on the record what the purchasing thresholds are being changed from and to?
They're in the packet.
And what I'd like to know on the record?
It
All
is
right,
in the
what-
record.
What's the issue? What's going on?
What's the dollar amount being changed from and to for the threshold?
It's on the documents that have been submitted for the record.
There's about 15 of them.
If we want them to
It's right
be
there.
outlined.
It's right there, George, that right there. No, right below your stapled.
I think it's page 36 in the packet.
36.
Roberta has it in her hand.
Was this one?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so all of these here?
Everything that is crossed out and replaced with red writing is what is being proposed to be changed from and to.
All right, Roberta, do you have any concerns?
I'll abstain because I didn't get that document.
Okay, thank you. Any other discussion on the motion? Hearing none. All those in favor of the motion, raise your hand.
Yes.
Thank you, Zach. Opposed?
One opposed.
One opposed. Motion carries 6-1.
Okay, the next four are Parks and Rec. Discussion and action regarding funding for the fiscal year 25 Art in the Park event. Town council previously approved fiscal year 25 funding to Parks and Rec for this program, which is pumpkin decorating and related activities. I move to disperse up to $1,000 to Parks and Rec from fiscal year 25-906 Arts and Humanities for Art in the Park expenditures upon receipt of appropriate paperwork.
Second.
There's a second on the motion?
Yeah, from Chris.
Second from Chris. Discussion on the motion. Hearing none. All those in favor of the motion, raise your hand.
Yes.
Opposed? Motion carries 7-0.
Discussion and action regarding funding for the fiscal year 25 Pumpkin Roll event. Town council previously approved its fiscal year 25 funding to Parks and Rec for this program, in which participants seek to roll pumpkins down a steep street and through a gap in Bay Hills.
I'll second.
I move to disperse up to $500 to Parks and Rec from fiscal year 25 forward to economic development for the pumpkin roll expenditures upon receipt of appropriate paperwork.
I want a second.
Thank you, George. We have a second on the motion. Discussion on the motion. All those in favor of the motion, raise your hand.
Yes.
All right. Opposed? 0. Motion carries 7-0.
Discussion and action regarding funding for fiscal year 25 Halloween event. Same spiel, but for this one, treats are provided in the gazebo park. Move to disperse up to $300 for Parks and Rec for fiscal year 25 forward to economic development for the Halloween event expenditures upon receipt of appropriate paperwork.
Second on the motion. Second from Chris. Discussion on the motion to approve. Hearing none. All those in favor of the motion, raise your hand.
Okay.
Yes.
Opposed? Motion carries 7-0.
Last one in the series of the Broken Record series. This is for the fiscal year 25 Scarecrow event, in which residents are encouraged to place decorated scarecrows on their properties with token prizes awarded for exemplary specimens. I move to disperse up to $175 for Parks and Rec from fiscal year 25-906 Arts and Humanities for Scarecrow event expenditures upon receipt of appropriate paperwork.
Second on the motion. Second from George. Discussion on the motion to approve. All those in favor of the motion, raise your hand. Excuse me.
Yes.
Opposed, 0. Motion carries 7-0.
Discussion and action regarding winter 2024-25 snow and ice removal contract. Each year, town council makes arrangements to have winter street and sidewalk clearing services lined up well ahead of snow and ice season. I move to put the winter 24-25 snow and ice removal contract out to bid.
Second.
A motion second from Chris. Discussion on the motion. All those in favor of the motion, raise your hand.
Yes.
Opposed, 0. Motion carries 7-0. Treasurer's report and approvals. Debbie, B.
Okay. This is, these reports are for the end of July 2024. This is the first month in the new fiscal year, or 8.3%. In general fund, you're looking at revision 1. Carry forward balance is 1.2 million, leaving operating income at projected 1.15 million. Income received so far is $163,000 at 14%. In the expense area, you may notice a negative number there, which is actually deposit, belongs up in the income area, but I left it there because it's actually an error, because, well, it's not an error, but it is a fiscal 24 receipt of the federal match for the tree commission that came in July, got posted to an expense instead of to income. So I thought actually it's better there because we don't want to be including that. It will be accrued back to the end of fiscal 24 when all that happens and we close out our numbers. So that's irrelevant. And with that correction, our expenses are just over $100,000 at exactly 8%. And then in waterworks, you're looking at your original fiscal 25 budget. Water billing income is 7.9%. Your expenses are showing 10%, but that is because we have received and paid out about $24,000 of that billing for maintenance of mains contracting. Once all of that work is complete and what is billed out to customers, et cetera, to be reimbursed for is all settled out, we will make a contribution from Renew and Replace that will go into the income side, and it will offset a portion of that $24,000. So if you take that out of the equation, you are right at 8%. I also want to point out to you that in this budget, you do have the addition of the two of the cash working capital reserve, or SB 234 fund, which we need to start contributing into as of July. So up in your income line, because it gets moved over to an asset for us there, and is counted as income. It's that very first item, 131.3, transfer to reserve. And in the expense area, the action of that going into the income is right under professional services, again, 131.3, water transfer to reserve. So any questions on these items?
Move to accept the financial reports for July 2024 as submitted.
Second from Chris. Any discussion on the motion to approve the financials? All those in favor of the motion, raise your hand.
Yes.
Opposed? 0. Motion carries 7-0.
And then the next are just two checks on the over the threshold item. Again, these are both in association with the WDA grant work that needs to be done by our legal and engineering staff. I have them here if anybody cares to review them. There's just two on the list.
I move to accept the invoices and purchases as submitted.
There's a second on the motion. Second from Chris. Discussion on the motion. All those in favor of the motion to approve, raise your hand.
Yes.
Opposed?
Six one.
Yeah, I couldn't see that.
6-1.
6-1.
6-1.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate that. Okay, you get organized here. All right, so we're going to go to the ORC. Roberta, you want to go ahead and give your committee report first?
That'd be great. Okay, let's see. Right, I have copies for everyone if you want to pass it down. It's a one-page report on both sides printed. Basically, real quick, we're gonna have two second readings for ordinances tonight. So hopefully those will go well. And then what we're looking to do under pending business is really our main concern is some of the things that are still outstanding and coming before us, which would be the tree committee review of their changes. We're awaiting planning commission's review. The West Virginia law changes and adoptions made during the West Virginia legislature session for this past year. Ken Taylor was going to do a review of those codes that were affecting our codes, and we're still waiting on that presentation to be in front of town council when he's ready. Also, the Article 130, we understand that's under legal review, and was wondering if, again, when we can make that appointment. And Mayor, again, you and I need to sit together. I know you're out of town. We need to set that appointment for that to happen. And then for the other item, we're asking for Ken Sayers' time. Again, I need to sit with you, Mayor, and get a time and date so we can have that meeting. And the other revisions that we know are coming forward will be Appendix A, general updates that we're finding as we amend the codes for the West Virginia Code cross-references. And then we understand that maybe Part 17 and dark sky light pollution ordinances is coming down the pipe. But again, ORC is caught up after we read these two ordinances into record tonight. We'll be caught up with what's before us. So we have very little items to go forward. So with that, I can begin to read ordinance 2024-03 into the record for second reading.
Roberta, before you begin that, council, from my perspective, in reading the submissions from the ORC, I believe that there are several inconsistencies that need to be dealt with before we go forward. However, if that's not the direction of the council, when Roberta brings up and does this second reading during the discussion, I will bring up the inconsistencies, which there appear to be several that need to be tended to. So I can go either way, council. I can do it now, or I can do it during discussion. I don't really care.
I would be happy, since I'm the ORC chair, and are you saying that there's inconsistencies in the ordinances presented for second reading?
Yes.
Okay, I would be happy to hear those now, and if we have to postpone this second reading, then we do that. So what are the inconsistencies, sir, and which ordinance would you like to start with?
Let me go over those, and I'll be asking for input from ORC.
Which ordinance first?
On
please?
line 13.
Excuse me, which ordinance first, please?
Pardon me?
Which ordinance are we reviewing first?
We are on the STR, the short-term rental.
Okay, for the record, we're reviewing ordinance 2024-03, and the mayor has some inconsistencies on that ordinance. Okay, which line item, please?
Roberta, do you want to let me bring them up, or how you want me to do this?
Yes, please.
Okay, let me go through them, okay? Okay, online, council, if you look at line 13, in red is vacation rentals. It's underlined, correct? In red? Everybody have? Okay. I read through the entire Article 1302 definitions and terms and did not find any reference to vacation rentals. Am I overlooking something?
No, sir, you're correct, and let me address that. I don't believe the council needs to address it. The ORC will go back and add that definition to our definitions. That's some follow-up work, which we put on the record at our last meeting that we have to do. So we will go back and do that.
Okay. All right. Let me hold you right there. Hold on, George.
Sure.
I contend, why are we going to, if we want to resolve the definition of STR, and you have part of that definition, vacation rental, you are asking us to approve a definition of STR that includes a term that we do not know the definition of. I am suggesting that we do it all at one time. Let me, Roberta, let me go through all of my issues, okay?
Okay, and I'm gonna, please come back to me and please,
I will come, I'll give you all the time you want.
thank you, because I'm gonna
Okay,
respond to that.
so we have no definition of vacation rentals in our 1302. The current definition of short-term rentals excludes B&Bs. Why is the ORC recommending now to include B&Bs?
Okay, I'll address that question.
I'd like to have that one answered.
Okay,
All right, let me go on. Article 1302 includes definitions for apartments and condominiums. Can they not be considered STRs? And if so, shouldn't they be excluded? My final point, your revised definition includes the term motel. However, motel is not defined anywhere in 1302. As with vacation rentals, shouldn't motel be defined somewhere before you attempt to include it in your STR revised definition?
okay, is that your last comment, sir?
That is.
Okay, thank you. And we addressed all of your comments in our last meeting. And we also addressed them in the previous reading of this ordinance. I personally asked for vacation rentals not to be placed in the definition of short-term rental. One, for various reasons of what a vacation rental truly is, as far as the market and universal definition of vacation rentals define it as, because I think it's crossing a dangerous line for us. So I asked for that word not to be added into it. One, also because it's not defined. A vote was taken, vacation rentals was put back into this reading of the second reading. Motels was also discussed in the previous discussions we had. It was in your previous definitions. We left it in there. And again, both of these vacation rentals and motels would be follow-up definitions that the ORC has to tackle and do in our next set of text amendments. In regards to your bed and breakfast and inns, that question was asked by you personally at the last meeting, and we addressed it because bed and breakfast inns are now operating like short-term rentals due to COVID, primarily, that the innkeeper is no longer on premise in most cases, and the full breakfast is no longer being offered. And again, this was a direct result of COVID, and I believe bed and breakfast inns are now operating like short-term rentals. And I think we also clarified that Airbnb is a brand name and not a short-term rental by definition, but it's a brand.
Okay. All right. My point is, Roberta, why are we coming back with duplicative efforts? We should be doing this all at one time. Chris, and then George.
Yeah, on the bed and breakfast, I wanted to clarify that in our present definition, I think there was discrimination between the short-term rentals and bed and breakfast because they were one was considered owner occupied and was considered a permitted use, whereas short-term rentals was going to exclude that, being non-resident operated, and would have been a conditional use.
Mm-hmm.
And the state of West Virginia's change of laws made that discrimination moot. So we wanted to, because bed and breakfasts are defined elsewhere in the definitions, we wanted to include them under short-term rentals for that reason. On the vacation rentals and the hostels, which are, you are correct, are not defined, Storm had made the observation that those are included elsewhere in the zoning ordinances, and he felt that they should be included in the list. I agree with you that there's a bit of a problem using undefined terms in a definition, but I guess we're making homework for ourselves, perhaps.
Yeah.
Yes,
George,
yes, I'd like to piggyback on what Roberta, a member of the ORC with me, and Chris said here. All of these matters were the subject of discussion spanning 2 previous council meetings, as well as several ORC meetings. I will say that on the inclusion of the words vacation rentals, I voted against that. But it was the council's will, after thorough discussion, that be included. And now sitting here, I believe that I'd like to honor the wisdom of the majority of the council who voted in things that I agreed with sometimes and things that I didn't agree with sometimes, to say this is the package that we have taken multiple months to work out. And I agree with Chris, the last words I have to say, that we have created some homework, but I'm not too worried with the collective intelligence to come up with a decent definition for motel
And vacation.
in the short term, in a very quick order. So thank you.
Nina, then Storm.
From the consensus amongst ORC that the definitions can come as the next step, that's a consensus across all members of ORC. That what's being presented today is fine, and that the definitions will come next. Okay, that's fine.
There's lots of definitions not in the code.
Yep, and if I may, I think what has created all this homework, which I believe is a flaw in the construction, which is it was flipped from excluding specific things that are defined to needing to include things. So I think a very simple, elegant solution would for it to be flipped to say excluding hotels or motels, whatever is already in our definitions that are governed by other laws that we have. That said, this is the route we've chosen, and that work can be done.
Okay. Excuse me. I'm sorry. All right, Roberta, I'm going to turn 5D, Roman numeral 2, over to you.
Okay, so are you okay with how the ordinance is presented tonight, sir?
No, I presented my issues
Okay.
to the town council on this ordinance, and I'm turning the issue over to you now.
Okay, all right, I'd like to make a motion that the ordinance 2024-03 be submitted into the record for second reading. The ordinance of the Corporation of Harpers Ferry, West Virginia, amending the Code of Ordinances of Harpers Ferry, Part 13, Project and Zoning Code, Article 1302, Words, Terms, and Phrases, amending and adopting revised definition for short-term rental, repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict therewith, providing for severability, providing for an effective date. Short-term rental shall be read as and defined as the use of a house or dwelling unit offered for rent for overnight occupancy by tenants for a tenancy of 30 days or less, including bed and breakfast inns, comma, vacation rentals, comma, and hostels, comma, but not hotels or motels, period.
Thank you, Roberta. Is there a second on the motion?
Second.
From George. Nina, does this require a roll call vote or not? I forget.
I believe it does. Yeah, it does.
All right, let me go through the discussion first, then I'll turn it over to you. Any discussion on the motion? All right, Nina, would you call roll?
Now, one moment. Guess we'll start with myself. Yes. Stormy DeSanto,
Yes.
Chris Craig,
Yes.
George Owens,
Yes.
Roberta Mead Curry,
Yes.
Zachary Morris,
Yes.
Mayor Vaughn.
No.
And
Okay.
I have for the record the hard copy ready for signature for recorder and mayor.
Okay. And that, so motion passes.
Okay. Bear with me for a minute. Oh, here it is. Okay. All right, Roberta, go ahead and handle the next one. And I have a similar comment I want to make when we get to the discussion point on this one.
Okay, do you want to go over those now, sir?
No, I mean, mine is fairly straightforward. I mean, I can go over it now if you want me to, if that's the consensus.
I would prefer that.
It's
Thank you,
not
sir.
it's not as much as the other one.
Okay, let's go ahead and get your comments on the record for
Okay.
ordinance 2024-04.
Yeah. Okay. If Roberta, if we look at the Article 527 that you distributed to us,
That
and
would
you
be-
start at line 53. There's a term there that is bothersome to me, and that term is permitted construction activities. The term construction activity is not defined anywhere in our ordinances. Therefore, I think there is the potential for one individual to interpret what is a construction activity versus another individual who thinks a construction activity is something different. And therefore, we are leaving it up to the property owner to define in their mind what a construction activity is. Are we not placing the entire issue in jeopardy?
Okay, I'll answer that question. Was that your only item, sir?
I'm sorry, slow down, Roberta. You talk too fast for this computer system.
Is that your only item?
Yeah, that's my only. I'm concerned about misinterpretation by property owners, whether what they're doing or proposing to do is a construction activity or not.
Okay, and what we are looking at for that definition, by the first part of that, again, we're on line 53, if anyone's following along, line 53 of Exhibit 2, page 3 of 4. That's where we're at, everybody. Okay?
That's correct.
Exhibit 2, page 3 of 4, line 53 is what he's looking at. Hold on, having people look for it. Exhibit 2. Yes, right here. Okay, so permitted means they had to have a permit issued from the city or town of Harpers Ferry. That's really what that means. So if you did not have a permit issued from the town of Harpers Ferry and you are conducting construction activities, then you're technically in violation. So that's really what it means. Permitted construction activities. If we need to clarify that, or again, add some homework and include a definition for clarification, ORC can certainly do that.
Yeah, I'm thinking that for the benefit of the property owner engaging in a work that is going to be inspected by the OCO, I think it's got to be fair for the property owner to know what defines a construction activity. We don't have it defined anywhere in our ordinances. What does construction mean? And I may do something at my house that I may not consider to be construction, then George may be doing something at his that he feels falls under the project permit with construction. I'm just a little leery on that. Storm?
Can I paraphrase? Is it that I was granted the floor?
Oh, I didn't know you were representing.
I believe he said Storm.
Storm, then you, George, if you got some comment.
Zach has his hand up also.
If I can, I'm trying to understand, the issue is that as worded, it leaves room for interpretation versus something that might say, construction for which the property owner received a permit, is something like that. Like
Yes.
basically, I see.
Yeah. Let's take the guesswork out of a process or a procedure, because don't forget, there are sanctions in our ordinance. Every ordinance has a sanction, whether it's a monetary fine or whatever, every one of our ordinances. And I just think out of fairness to a property owner, we need to be as crystal clear as possible what things mean and don't leave them up to interpretation. This is no big deal. I'm just bringing it and putting it on the table as a concern that I have.
No, I think it's an excellent point. So, well taken. So I would like to hear from Chris and George because they're my ORC people.
You have a hand up with Zach as well.
Go ahead, George.
Yeah, I'd like to say that the term is not that confusing if someone asks the office staff for clarification. It's standard language in the construction industry that this is a permitted matter. That automatically excludes like for like, because that's not something that requires a permit. I mean, I'm wordsmithing this here. It's not a term, Mayor, that you'll find in our glossary, because it's like a lawsuit. You know, it's something that's in the general vocabulary, and it's defined by the adjective permitted, and the construction activities exclude you and me painting our porch, because these are things that don't require a permit. It would include something that should require a permit, and if it doesn't have a permit but it should, then that would include that, because this is a permitted, a statement of activity requiring a permit. It would also include something that has a permit. It is a permitted matter. I think it would be something that required very little clarification, and I don't know how you do this other than making it a special definition in our glossary. And perhaps then that's the homework to do, is to leave this very accepted term intact and task ORC with a clarifying definition in our glossary. That would be my suggestion.
Okay, George, I get it, George. I would be remiss if I didn't bring up a potential issue that may arise in the future. That's all.
I get
That's
it.
all.
Yeah.
Anything else, Chris?
Zach has his hand
Yeah,
up.
I think our focus was on the permitted rather than the construction. And if someone does receive a permit, I think it's clear, unless the permit was for a, a non-construction issue, that that would be the activity. So I'm not seeing the problem with it. I don't know.
Zach has his hand up.
Okay, Zach?
Thank you. Yeah, I just a different issue I wanted to bring up before I have to hop off is that in reading through this and then our noise ordinance, I think I mentioned this the last time when it came up for first reading, is that we're setting up an inconsistency, or at least a situation that puts people into a confusing spot, where this amended language would allow external work activities for permitted projects to start at 7 a.m. However, the noise ordinance would still apply, which prohibits loud noises essentially above 85 decibels before 8 a.m. And 85 decibels is about the same noise level of a loud conversation or laughter. So I think what we're doing is we're saying that contractors can start work at 7, but they can't make any noise until 8. And so we're setting up a situation where contractors are either going to be set up to violate the noise ordinance, or an ordinance that was put in place to ensure quiet, peaceful enjoyment of neighborhoods and during certain hours. So I would strongly encourage us to take a look at the 7 a.m. versus 8 a.m. hour difference.
Okay, thank you, Zach. All right, Roberta, as I did before, I'm going to defer 5D Roman numeral 3 to you.
There's still some hands up.
I'm sorry, who?
There's Chris, Craig, and Roberta, and also Nina have their hands up.
Okay, go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, I wanted to address Zach's concern. We recognize that there's a difference between us going out and mowing our lawn at 7 and a work crew coming in and starting work at 7. The OCO and the office had expressed concern to us that if we were delaying work crews from gathering and beginning construction work until 9 o'clock, that it was going to be a problem for some of those teams. And so we specifically addressed that by, in the 527, referring that permitted construction to be governed by Appendix B rather than the noise ordinance in 527.
Okay.
So I think we made that clear.
Okay, thank you, Chris. Roberta.
Yes, and I think we did clarify that on our last meeting, and thank you, Chris, for reiterating that. But I think the key word there, and we talked about this, is under Exhibit 1, page 6 of 11, line 125. The key word there is exterior work. So they cannot start their exterior work before 7 a.m. Okay? So they can be inside painting, they can, be setting up and doing all kinds of stuff, but they can't be outside doing anything before those hours. Okay, and yes, and when you break down the noise ordinance, yeah, you can't create noise above a certain decibel before and after those hours. So we felt ORC that you're covered in more ways than one. And again, that's why I think we put the word permitted construction work versus what you had. I don't think you had that in your previous ordinance. And so that makes it even stronger, what you're got before you tonight. And I think it solved the problem of issues that the OCO and the administration brought forward to the ORC.
Thank you, Roberta. Nina, do you have your hand up?
Yeah. So my major concern is the permitted work and sort of how we're defining that. The idea was that we were supposed to adjust these hours so that work crews could come in, and we were restricting construction of permitted work on holidays and weekends. However, what about people who are in town who go to get a permit to do work that they're going to be doing themselves, maybe on the weekends or maybe on the holidays when they're not working, to be able to fix something? I feel like it's kind of discouraging people from getting permits to do work that they would be doing themselves because of the sort of semantics of it. So that was my big concern with it.
Zach has his hand up, and Roberta.
Go ahead, Zach, and then Roberta, then I want to get to the agenda item.
Thank you. Yeah, I hear what the other council folks are saying. I just, I guess I disagree with the premise of allowing any work that could potentially giving special treatment to work crews as opposed to other members of the public. I just feel that keeping an 8 a.m. consistent time for any noise is in the best interest of residents, and so that's just where I stand. I think it should be 8 a.m.
Thank you, Zach. Roberta?
And last final comment from the ORC. Again, homeowners, once this is read into and signed by you, Mayor, the homeowner, if the homeowner has a permit, that homeowner will have to abide by those rules. Okay, and the homeowner has to understand what the noise ordinance says. And if that homeowner pulled a permit and he has a crew there where he's doing the work themselves, they're going to have to abide by these rules.
Okay, thank you, Roberta. Roberta? You have agenda item 5D3.
Yes, are we closing all discussion? You ready?
I just advise you, you have agenda item 5D3.
Okay. All right, if we're good to go. All right, I'm gonna, make a motion that ordinance 2024-04 be approved for second reading, an ordinance of the Corporation of Harpers Ferry, West Virginia, amending the Code of Ordinances of Harpers Ferry, Part 13, Project and Zoning Code, Appendix B, standards for project activities, permitted hours for exterior work as per Exhibit 1 attached, and Part 5, General Offenses Code, Article 527 noise, Section 527.02 noise prohibited as per Exhibit 2 attached, amending and adopting text amendments as presented, repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances conflict therewith, providing for severability, providing an effective date.
Your second on the motion.
Second.
Second from George. Discussion on the motion? Nina, call roll.
Okay, we'll start with myself. No. Storm DeSantis,
No.
Chris Craig,
Yes.
George Owens,
Yes.
Roberta B. Curry,
Yes.
Zachary Morris,
Yeah, for the reasons I stated, no.
Mayor Vaughn.
No.
May I have a recorded vote, please, Callie?
Yes, let's see. 3 yes, 4 no. Motion fails.
Okay, may I address the mayor, please? No, no, no. Mayor, may I address you, please?
Go ahead, Roberta.
Would you like the ORC to take back ordinance 2024-04 draft and rework some of the concerns that you brought forward tonight?
That's why I believe the motion failed, Roberta.
Okay, I'd like to make a follow-up motion then. I'd like to make a motion that the town council recommends ORC to take back the draft presented for second reading for ordinance 2024-04 and rewrite and address the concerns brought forward tonight regarding the definition of permitted construction activities and reevaluate the hours of exterior work.
There's second on the motion.
Second?
Second from Storm. Discussion on the motion?
Yeah, just
Storm?
for, my main concern was that the permitted construction, if you just flip that around so that it's specific, that it's construction for which a town permit has been issued, then you don't have to get into a definition.
Okay. Chris, and then George.
My main concern is that I'm hearing different concerns, and I don't know whether it's going to be possible to address all of them for agreement. So I guess when we bring this up at the next ORC meeting, I would certainly invite members of the council to present ideas on how we could address things. I'm not sure that some of the things are going to work to address the concerns coming from town office and the OCO with other concerns.
Okay, George.
Exactly what Chris is saying here. I go further and ask that those people on the council here who have objections or points they'd like to make, please submit them in writing to Roberta before our next meeting so that we can have them there in front of us and incorporate those. Otherwise, we're going to be in desperate. I greatly appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Okay, Nina, what's the motion on the floor?
I'm going to paraphrase here because I don't have it exactly, unless Roberta wants to read off the sheet, but just the town council recommends that the ORC take back the draft for 2024-04 for review and revision and resubmission.
Okay.
I seconded it.
I can make that more specific.
Yeah,
Okay.
I was going to get it with the report, but yeah, just paraphrase.
Okay.
Right. Any other discussion on the motion? All those in favor of the motion, raise your hand.
Yes.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear Zach's vote.
Yeah.
Yes.
Opposed? 0. Motion carries 7-0. George and Roberta and Chris, I'll just say that another resource to assist you on this will be the notes and the recordings from the recorder. So don't hesitate to reach out to the recorder for any of the discussion that we've already concluded. You said you were looking for ideas from the council. Well, a lot of the ideas came up from Zach, myself, and others, and I'm just suggesting that the recorder can be here as an asset to assist you in pulling out some of our conversations that we've had for the past 15 minutes. Does that make sense, council?
Understand, sir?
That'd be helpful, but oftentimes she's pressed for time, you know, she can have that available to us.
The town
Yeah.
recording might be on it too.
For the-
Pardon?
I have the timestamps for the discussion, so.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, let's move to the police. I don't know if the chief is in there or not.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
You guys have the council, the minutes in front of you guys. So
Yeah, yeah.
Question for us, we can move on.
The report that was submitted?
Yes.
Okay.
Curious what the fraud was. I can't go to the information on investigation, things like that.
was it a lot of money or a little bit?
Not necessarily money. A lot of ways to commit fraud.
Okay,
Understood.
all right, thank you.
I don't know what just happened, but I assume,
Zach has his hand up.
okay, Zach.
Yeah, I was just going to echo that it was really hard to hear, but personally, I actually have to hop off now to catch a flight. So thank you all for letting me join, and good luck with the rest of the meeting.
Okay, good luck.
Thanks.
Thanks, Zach.
Please,
Safe travels.
All right, you got
Thank
your ORC report. Landmark, water. I don't know if Steve's in there or Mike Rock.
He was here.
What was your name?
Oh, you skipped the
Go ahead, Steve. Go ahead, Steve.
Okay, actually, Mike Rock's absence of start date has asked me to opt following the Water Commission. They are looking at taking on a consideration of looking into rate structures, doing a variable cost analysis, assisting the water department with comparable survey. Also looking at generally discussing how does the Water Commission add value, and looking at how they can provide assistance in a way to identify leaks and maximize capacity. In terms of my report, we filtered about 6.5 million gallons of water. Our as I calculated, our unaccounted for water percentage was actually dropped. Last month I reported 49%. This month, as I run the numbers, it's 36%. We billed for 400,000 more gallons, and we filtered 800,000 less gallons. And so that's basically how that ratio worked out. I don't have in-depth idea of exactly how to pull that one off. I do believe this is somewhat a snapshot in time. At least it's not over 50%. Seems, this month at least I'm reporting some good direction. I can only hope that I'll bring you similar news next month, but I'm not counting. Tanks minimums 60%, maximum is 92%, and mean was 79%. This is pretty much what I reported pretty consistently in terms of how we've been operating. I mentioned the copper lead survey. This is we have to have samples first drawn by the end of the month. And in September, we have to have the results turned into the state by October the 10th. Kathy's been helping with some of this, although we are running into a lot of challenges with this. The what do I say, the people at the county level and state level in the health department, different people in different chairs from fire. We thought it was just a lot of sampling sites we've done in the past, really the past decade, and those are getting rejected. So early this afternoon with fellow over in the county office, Alan Martian's replacement, they sort of path forward. Now the challenge is how we're going to figure out how to get this done this month. You've heard a little bit about the sidewalk replacement, effects on our 40, 50-year-old service lines. If you want to very much thank the mayor for his action to take advantage of the fact that we won't be cutting through and connecting brand new sidewalks sometime in the next decade to replace lines that really are likely to fail if we were not to replace them in that time period. Unfortunately, there are some that we just the sidewalks are already placed over on some of those lines, but we're moving as fast as we can to take advantage of the opportunity that we have in front of us to affect essentially what would be a much cheaper repair for us, upgrade for us. One final thing, on August the 27th, Jefferson County Planning Commission held a public hearing for their county comp plan. I attended that hearing. I spoke at the hearing, representing myself as first and foremost Mayor Bolivar, but I also gave my role as managing the waterworks. I asked for two considerations of the commission as they go to put forward their plan. The first was update the water use study that was last completed in 2012, and this is for county-wide. And then the second one was I asked that they reconstitute to reinvigorate the county commission's water board. This is a body that is under the county commission and has fallen by the wayside, the lack of quorums, as I understand it. Really, I was one of the last speakers. I followed many others among the 30-odd speakers who attended that night, many of whom echoed similar concerns. So there wasn't a whole lot of new information I was bringing. I was able to offer a little bit more specifics to there were claims or concerns that others raised about Harpers Ferry having to switch to Potomac when the Elks Run Bank Drive. I was able to provide a little bit more specifics and context to that, the difference between that we ran into between processing Potomac water versus Elks Run water. But again, the comments that I offered were very much within the tenor of what others in the room were putting forward. Have any questions?
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you.
ORC, George? Or is the ORC chair there?
HLC,
You mean HLC?
yeah.
I'm sorry, HLC.
Yeah, I'll give her a brief report. We welcome the new member, Kimberly Wheeling, and we had the property owner of 970 Washington Street came by and had some requests. We were partially able to answer, and we took the information, the request in. I myself talked to landmarks at the state level, got some responses, submitted those. We're going to wait to HLC chair and she elected to pass those on to the property owner. And we'll hopefully those answer the questions that family had, and we look forward to working with them in the future. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, George. Nina.
Yeah, so this is the IOC general report. We've been meeting pretty frequently to move forward with our website and logo projects. We've also been meeting to provide guidance to the waterworks regarding hiring. There will be a special meeting later this week to discuss a candidate for the Class 2 water operator position. We also will be meeting within the next month to discuss a town hall employee position and defining that further, which we'll bring up at the October meeting for town council. So this is just a precursor to that. We also currently are hitting our next step in the town logo website redesign process, which is having an open house to review the sample logo, font samples, and color scheme ideas that we received from the designers to public review, which pulls into my motion. We're ready for that.
Go ahead.
All right. Move to allow the Internal Operations Committee to host a special meeting, open house, to allow for feedback for the town logo design, font, and color samples on Thursday, September, I put 7th, but I think it's the 17th, 17th, 2024, from 6:30 to 8:30 p.m., and to send out a survey to the newsletter recipients to solicit feedback as well.
Tuesday is 17th.
Thursday.
Thursday is the 19th. Check me right behind.
Oh, you're right. Sorry. Thursday the 19th.
Thank you, Nina. Her second on the motion?
I second.
Second from Chris. Discussion on the motion. Pan the camera if you could, Verlissa or Debbie. Okay. Yeah. Do you have a discussion point, George?
No,
Or you were just waving to the mayor? Okay. Hearing no discussion, all those in favor of the motion, raise your hand. Opposed? Motion carries 6-0. Anything else, Nina?
6-0, 1 absent. Nope, that's it.
Okay, thank you. Dark Sky Committee update. Storm, I guess this is you?
Yeah, yep. So work continues on this work. Briefly, there was a street lighting walk, assessment walk on August 21st that covered East Bridge and Fillmore Streets. There will be one more that will take place to cover the west end of town. We've been looking at the Dark Sky International designations, as well as a model lighting ordinance and comparable jurisdictions ordinances, and have discussed stakeholder and public survey and an open house once things have solidified a bit.
Okay. Any questions for Storm on the committee report? Okay. Thank you, Storm.
There's no motion.
Oh, discussion.
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry.
There's an item.
Yeah. I ate just 300 calories too few for dinner. Yes. So the other thing was that when this committee was convened, one of the things that was within its mandate is to make recommendations as it might see fit. And in particular, in doing the street walks, we determined that there were a number of bulbs that were out. And currently they're being replaced by Potomac Edison with these very narrow, bright spotlights, what we've been calling them, lights. So that's the first item, is recommending a bulb that will go into when bulbs burn out. And the other was one area that when we did the street survey of High Street and Washington Street, that stretch is particularly bad as far as not so much lights out, but most of those lights are the spotlights, and it creates a real safety hazard when you're coming down basically from Columbia Street down to Lower Town. So I have two motions to make. The first one is move to replace any street light bulbs that are currently out with bulbs with a color temperature of less than 2500 Kelvin, 150 watt or less equivalent, diffuse LED, wet location rated bulbs. Now I'll explain what that is. That falls under the bulbs that have currently been tested, the lower power version of.
Or second on the motion? Second from Roberta. Discussion on the motion.
Sorry, second from Nina. Put my mic down.
Did you record that right? So, yeah, second from you, I would like to. Are you recognizing me, sir?
I recognize you as a second. You did not give a second to the motion?
No,
So
second
the
was
second was me. Roberta raised her hand for discussion.
I'm sorry, my error. Thank you, Nina. Go ahead with your discussion point, Roberta.
Okay, thank you. Okay, may I ask some questions of Storm, please?
Yes.
Okay, so the light bulbs are the ones that Potomac Edison re-engineered for us that fit in the fixture correctly now. They are the ones that we're supposed to be replacing everything with, is that correct?
Yeah, they're not from Potomac Edison. They're ones that we found that,
That
yes, they,
from the previous lighting
Correct, the
committee,
ones
and
that we
they got it all right, right?
yes.
Okay, and I appreciate the lower Kelvin. I'm not sure about the 150 watts being the correct wattage. I would really like to hear that that's really dark sky appropriate before we replace anything, or you get an approval on this wattage. But also too, again, the narrow scope of the light is better and is more dark sky appropriate. The situation that we need to really address is maybe getting the light fixtures lowered. And if they're lowered to a certain height, that beam spread of that light cone will be wider on the ground and will get to that safety zone or that wider spread of the lighting, because you're taking the cone of the lighting and bringing it down to the ground. So therefore, when it hits the ground plane, it becomes wider. And I think that's maybe a solution, maybe not an immediate solution, but that's an excellent solution to get that done and help the safety of that light cone of the light have a more spread.
The
visual
issue,
spread.
the issue is, if I may address that, all four of us, when we walked down these stretches where this narrow beam, saw the same thing. And I would recommend that, walking the street at night after dark. That could work if you had many more fixtures. If we were able to have bollard lighting along the length of Washington Street, that would work. But for our current fixtures as they are right now, what you have are these very bright cones. Even if we're lower, as you're walking by, you would be hit with this very interrogation interrogation like light that is not diffuse,
Right.
versus the way the lights were constructed to be used with the incandescents, and that's what we're looking to replicate, their current function. The bulbs that are in there don't do that. So you're walking from blinding areas, and if we're lower, probably worse, into almost pure darkness and back and forth. And your eyes cannot adjust to that. In some of these areas, you have steep drop-offs, you have darkness. So this was something that was, sorry that Zach is not here at this moment, but that's what we're looking at right now. Now, I will say also that this is basically to bring them back to operating spec as they are. Something can happen in the future, but as far as what it is right now, we all agreed very quickly it was a safety hazard.
Thank you, Storm. Any other discussion? George and then Chris.
Yes, first off, Roberta, the way a cone would work, the closer, I'm not gonna turn this upside down, the closer the cone gets to the table, the smaller the area it lights.
You're talking to a lighting designer, that's not correct. Go ahead.
Well, it is. But the other is, the question is diffusion, and your interrogation is less diffusion. Who are the people who walked this? You said, you mentioned 4 of them?
There are currently 4 who are sitting on the committee. Myself, Zach, Karen Sagisi, and Kathy Gray.
Okay. Can I ask that, I think before you ask the council to go and decide on this, to have one of your new lights that you talk about is what we want, put up someplace, and if there is one already, then to alert us where it is. And I like to go out and see what it looks like before I vote on it. I mean, it just.
Step outside your house.
Okay, so where exactly? Over top of my mailboxes?
Down Taylor Street.
Outside my house? That's the one you're talking about?
Yes.
Okay. Never mind, it's a great light. No, I know that light. I know my neighborhood. It's a great light.
All right, let's hold our discussion to the motion. Chris?
Just a question. Are the lights that are
going out, the old incandescent?
Well, I'm not sure if all the ones that have gone out lately have just been, there's at least one that we saw that was the newer light that had gone out. That is the one that Potomac Edison put in. So far, all the test bulbs of the diffuse style are still performing.
I didn't think we had that many incandescents still around, but
We've counted maybe 3 or 4 at this point. There's one on High Street in front of the Terrace Garage.
okay.
Like,
Thank you.
To clarify, it's 150 watt?
Or less.
Okay.
And
So-
the reason for defining it that way is there are limited suppliers that make them at all. So if this one goes out of production, we can ship to another one, but all of them do fall under what is considered to be dark sky compliant.
Yeah, just a quick Google search. It looks like for dark sky compliant for commercial lighting, 150 watts falls within their spectrum.
All right, any other discussion? All those in favor of the motion, raise your hand. Opposed? Motion carries 5-1. What was your second motion, Storm?
The second one is under advisement, and it's a larger thing to do, and we actually debated within the committee to even bring it forward, but decided that it was worthwhile. And this is the stretch from Columbia Street on down to Shenandoah. And this is where the effect of those interrogation lights is so great, because the distance between the poles is much greater. And so the motion is to change the bulbs from Washington High Streets, from Columbia down to Shenandoah Street, with light bulbs of less than 2,500 Kelvin color temperature, 150 watts or less equivalent, diffuse LED, wet location rated light, except for any existing incandescent bulbs. As mentioned, there is one on that stretch. And this is the stretch where there's missing sections of fence, and you are going from these bright areas of light into utter darkness. And we didn't see it on our walks, but I have seen people walking in the street rather than walk on the sidewalk there, which in the summertime, maybe not as big as an issue, but as the light becomes shorter, it does. And also that those sidewalks, they're not in the worst state of repair, but not in the best state of repair.
Question?
Yeah.
You're talking about from Shenandoah up to where? You're talking about High Street?
High Street in Washington, from Shenandoah, from where it meets Shenandoah up to Columbia Street.
Okay. Have you spoken with any members of the Park Service about this? Because your lighting is going to be affecting substantial quantities of park property.
I don't think it will, but
If you
The
go
light-
by
the bulbs
High
are-
Street, you've got park buildings. on
there
each
are no
side.
lights on.
They
There
don't
are
have-
not. The first hanging light is further up. Well, it would shine onto the other side of the street. That's true, but we're not even bringing them up to the full power that they were as designed. So the idea is to get them back and function.
Do you feel, I mean, you say you haven't spoken to the park about
No.
Well, George, they don't have any, the park doesn't have any overhead lights. They have their 8-foot lantern type of lights at the corner of High and Shenandoah. The ones on utility poles, they don't have any down on High Street. Correct, Storm?
I'm going to pull up the map. that I
Yeah,
made
I
right
don't, I'm almost positive there's none down there.
it.
So
Just
it's not,
what would be appropriate to consult with the park since you're down in their area.
Well, that's the thing, is I have to check the map, but I don't think we are. I think the first pole is west of where Public Way comes in,
Oh, okay. Then never
But-
mind.
but I'm going to check.
is there, while Storm is checking, is there a second on the motion?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Nina. Now discussion. Roberta?
Yeah, no, I want to make sure on this portion, you said on those streets from Shenandoah to High Street. It's the radial picture still, or these are the more colonial ones that are?
All the town's radial
radial
wave pictures, correct.
All right.
Okay, I
Any
have the map
other-
up right now. So the first Yeah, I believe the first town poll is actually up on public, I can't say with authority on this map which it is, but I can go to Google Street View.
Where's Hog Alley?
Here.
I believe the first pole storm is close to the Wax Museum, somewhere around in that area.
Okay, I'm on Street View now. Yeah,
It's by the Waxman.
it's up by the Wax Museum.
The mayor
Yeah.
would know this.
Yeah. All right. Any other discussion on the motion? All those in favor of the motion, raise your hand. My hand is up. Opposed? Motion carries 5-1. Old time Christmas storm, I guess, with Zach departing, you've got the dime on that one?
Oh, yeah, there's not a lot to say. We did have a meeting last week. So Martha Ailman is going to be working with the merchants and with the Park Association to contact the various folks and vendors, and they expect to be able to cover most of the costs from the merchants' pot, but we'll see. But there's really the plan is for it to be business as usual. It's known what the budget is that will come from the town. And we'll have another meeting after a number of vendors have been contacted to confirm that they'll be participating. The ultimate goal being to create that schedule that creates old time Christmas.
Okay. Thank you, Storm. All right, let's move on to unfinished business. Discussion and action to appoint a Corporation of Harpers Ferry representative to the JCDA Board of Directors.
I have a motion.
Let me finish, George.
Pardon me.
We have an expired term, Eddie Love. He's sitting in an expired position. I talked with Eddie. He said he'd be willing to go forth if nobody else steps up to the plate. And we all have a letter from Roberta expressing interest to fill that expired term. And this is not an approval for her to fill this position. This is an approval to send this recommendation from us to the JCDA. The county commission are the ones who approve this action. What they usually require are three nominees for a vacancy. We do not have the people jumping out of the woodwork to want to serve on a JCDA except for Roberta. And Roberta, thank you for stepping up to the plate on that. So the chair will entertain a motion to forward an approved recommendation from the town council to the JCDA for her appointment to fill the expired term of Eddie Love. And let the record reflect that Roberta has left the room.
Yeah, I make a motion to recommend Roberta Curry to the JCDA Board of Directors. As our representative.
Second.
Is there a second on the motion?
Second.
Second. Storm, discussion on the motion? All those in favor of the motion, raise your hand. Opposed? Okay, motion carries 1, 2, 3, 4-1. Thank you. Bring her back in, George.
Yeah.
Is Patty still in the room?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, Patty, tomorrow or someday this week, would you get a clean copy of Roberta's letter and forward that to Eddie, not our Eddie in Harpers Ferry, but Eddie from the JCDA, and that this is the town's recommendation to fill that position, and we were only able to secure one nominee.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Patty. Where am I here? JCDA. Yeah, discussion and action on a plan to remove the broken telephone pole on Church Street. I don't know who put this on here.
Zach did.
Okay, we'll defer it. And then let's go to new business discussion and action on obtaining a professional. Is that Zach's also?
Yes.
Okay. All right, we'll defer that also. All right, motion to adjourn?
So moved.
We got 7C.
No, that was also Zach's, but he's not here.
We
so
did
we're
that.
deferred to October,
Well,
unless you.
I would like to bring that up now.
Okay.
To tell you the truth.
We already-
We didn't vote to defer that. To the
Yeah, we
best of
did.
my knowledge.
It's on the agenda. I'd like to hear what George has to say.
If that's okay with you, Mayor. I mean,
I'm sorry. I believe we voted to defer that at the beginning of the meeting.
I'd like to,
no,
point of order, we should call for a vote. and-
we deferred 7B, but not 7C.
At the top of the meeting, we changed the wording from payment to pavement.
Yeah, we
That's all we
changed 7C to pavement.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
7C was brought up by Zach, correct?
It was, but to be honest with you, with my assistance, so I feel I can speak to it.
I'm sorry, you're garbled, George. Say it again.
I feel that I can speak to it.
All right, go ahead and speak to it real quick.
Thank you. Well, I believe everybody here has received an email from Wayne Bishop with pictures. We brought it up briefly at the last meeting. The mayor said he was going to send Larry down and take a look. Wayne has gone and taken some measurements, putting a plane across the street and showing it to drop. I've taken a second and third look at it. And I'd say that I'm not a professional. I don't have a degree. I don't have a certification to say how fast that what occurred. It appears that there's a drop in excess of an inch in the street, and it appears that the curb. We're talking the lower half of Henry Clay Street. The curb there, about halfway up, is canted outward at about 15-degree angle from vertical. And that section of the street is dropped. There's 3 cracks formed in the middle of the street. How fast that occurred, I don't know. Lower down by the light pole, the curb actually has there's a joint. The lower section of it is separated away by 4 inches, and there's a sheer drop down. So I, not being a professional and not having any opinion in turn to, I'd like to see us, and I'm going to make a motion to allocate a certain amount of money to go and have an opinion from an engineering company about how fast we can expect this subsidence to become a real problem. There are 7 structures, some of them full-time inhabitants live on that street, and I'm not worried about Caitlin McAteer's Prius knocking the street down. But God help us if somebody should have a fire in that street and a really heavy vehicle be down there. I'd like to get an opinion on when we start to worry about this. Is the street going to start to fall away and create a problem this winter? Is it going to do it in 5 years? Is it going to do it in 10 years, 30 years? It's an expensive proposition to repair. It'd be good to have an idea. Now, when I spoke to Wayne on this, he said you should be able to get an opinion somewhere in the area of $750 to $1,000. And so I'd like to make a motion that the town council approve $1,500 to Alpha Engineering. They usually work with this, and I think it's to provide an estimate of the need for repairs on lower Henry Clay Street. And I want to say that I think that this is an emergent enough problem that we not put that out for multiple estimates, and that we ought to really get on this before the first frost hits.
Your dollar value doesn't require that you get multiple estimates.
I was hoping that would be the case.
I'll second that motion. Complete your motion?
Discussion on the motion.
Just-
Nina,
I think isn't proper, I'm not sure, proper procedure typically is that you go to budget and finance for that. Are there exceptions in which we approve things without?
I mean,
It's possible.
yeah, okay.
We can do it.
It's not a,
I just want to make sure it's not-
significant enough amount of money that it would impact. I think you can pull it out of, the city hall, contracted services without, you know, if you have room in that budget area that you could, make that purchase.
Yeah,
We
and
also
if
in streets and transportation.
if it's an up to amount, then we're not just writing a blank check.
Okay. Okay, sounds good.
And it's not, it's $1,500, not $10,000.
or any other discussion?
Hang on.
Roberta, go ahead.
Yes, just real quick, and I really appreciate this being on the agenda because I think it is critical. The snow vehicles, who knows how much those vehicles weigh? And is it going to be a critical point if they're up there moving the snow? And several trees were removed a couple years ago, which is maybe why this is starting to subside. So it's critical.
Any other discussion? All those in favor of the motion, raise your hand. Opposed? 1. Motion carries 5-1.
All right. Mr.
And now-
Mayor, I'd like to second your motion to adjourn if you want to make it again.
I've already going to make that motion real quick right now. Is there a motion to adjourn? We have a second from George. All
Yes.
those in favor of adjourning, raise your hand. We are adjourned at 9:46 PM.
Let the record show that Andrew